Creativity, the power to connect the seemingly unconnected. William Plummer. Welcome to Deep Dive Creatives, a podcast that explores creativity. I'm David McGinnis, host of Deep Dive Creatives. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button to show your support. There's also a bell you can click on that will notify you when the next episode is posted, and you definitely won't want to miss the next episode. Also, in this episode description, there is an index of topics that are covered in this episode, and you can click on any one of those topics, and this video will jump right to that topic. Kind of a neat feature. If you're watching on Rumble, please hit that follow button. Either way, you are helping to promote this podcast. And leave a comment. What are your thoughts about creativity? I'd love to read about what you have to say. Meet Bentley Michaels.
Just get something going, because maybe you'll come up with a melody and then you go, but what if I did this? And then it's like...
Bentley grew up surrounded by creativity. Creative expressions was just a way of life for him and his family.
I've always been around it. My grandmother was a singer. I know that she would open for certain acts when they would come to Portland. She gave me her piano. When she was sick, before she passed, she goes, I don't have a lot, but what do you want? I go, I would love the piano, the harmonica, and your cookbook. And which is kind of like, her cookbook is Bananas Town. It's basically like the Grail Diary in Indiana Jones 3. Because it's like, she's got pasted in recipes and then she's got handwritten stuff. And she has stuff crossed out, so she'll have 3 versions and then her version. My uncle, my dad's brother, is a drummer. He was in a band. My dad sang my entire life. He's been on television, radio. I used to help my dad lug gear for different radio things that he would do growing up. And with Capital Community Television, they would use his voice for high school Willamette football games. And I would be around the crew and lug cables and do camera stuff.
Bentley's acting experience began in kindergarten.
I played Prince Charming and Snow White. I still have the cape that my mom made me.
From Bentley's perspective, expressing creativity was something that everybody did, kind of like breathing. In fact, not being creative seemed abnormal to Bentley.
It's weird to me that other people don't do this stuff. It's weird to me when doing voices and that sort of stuff, it's weird to me that other people can't do it. It's because I've only ever been around people that can sing and augment their voice. And my dad does silly voices and, cracks jokes. My uncle does voices. Everybody that I think are my closest friends or, people in my life that I love the most, they're all the crazy artist. My tap teacher was this wonderful woman, and when you would go into Portland and you take left to 217 you were going towards the zoo, she was in those houses on the stilts on the hill. So and it's very nice house upstairs, very nice. Where you go downstairs where the tap studio was, though, she's got walls, all these pictures of her and Sammy Davis Jr. and Gregory Hines and Chitty Slide, all this stuff, all the tap festivals she's been to over the years and helped put on all this stuff. And a couple pictures of me and her, and it overlooked, you could see Portland State and stuff. But that was Crazy Town. That was her area. My high school theater teacher, she was a nut. She's like Edna Mode from The Incredibles. Linda Baker. And she ran Kaiser Homegrown Theater for many years. And but she was so eccentric to me and so cool. My film teacher, Mike Marquis, in high school, it's weird to talk about because it's kind of it's the only thing that you know.
Initially, Bentley had aspirations to be a drummer, prompting him to move to Los Angeles in 2007 to attend a percussion school. Drumming legend Josh Freese was a big inspiration for Bentley.
That's what I wanted to be, this guy. I just wanted to be, if I got into a popular band or whatever, great. But I would just love to be the guy that goes in and records the music, shows up, and I was very good at it.
An unexpected financial crisis occurred for Bentley when his roommate failed to pay his half of the rent just 3 days before it was due. Well, Bentley had to refocus his energies towards obtaining some additional income.
made a list of 10 things that I could do pretty well. I go, and I would just search Craigslist. And then one day I came across this Craigslist post that was like, we need like a detective noir announcer thing. I like read their thing, it's like, the dame walked into the bar and she had yams for days and, and all that. And I was like, oh, I can do that. And this is before iPhone. This is like a year before the iPhone came out or something like that. So I had a BlackBerry with a rollerball, and like I jotted down the Craigslist thing, and then I recorded like a voice note, and then I manually typed in like that long Craigslist email address, sent it. They're like, this is great. Be here at this day at this time. And I showed up to the place, and these two dudes are like, hey man, what's up? I'm like, cool. And so like, what's up? Hi, how you doing? And then we go up this kind of curved stair well or whatever. And we get to the top and we go into like the master, and there's like not a lot in there. There's like a folding table and there was like a sound booth thing. And I was kind of like, am I getting murdered? Is this like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas? And like, they're, yeah, go ahead and hop in the booth. I go, okay, great. And so like I go in there and I put on the headphones and the script's in there and there's a little TV in there. They come over the headphones and they're, obviously you've done ADR. And I knew what it was because of Family Guy special features. It's 3 beeps and on 4 you go. Beep, 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 talk. And so I was like, oh yeah, totally. I start reading this thing, I was like, Dame walked into the bar and, gams for days and, she knew what she was doing. She was coming home with me and blah, blah, blah. And then it was like this black and white thing and it was really kind of cool looking. I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe they're film students or something. I don't know. And then it's like they get like a Steadicam rig and it kind of is like ghostly and it's the front of the house I just came to. And I was like, in my head, I'm reading, it's going really well. And like I'm reading and I'm watching and I'm going and I'm like, and like the camera goes up to the doors and they magically open. And I'm like, just walk through those doors. And then it starts to go up on the stairs. I'm just like talking still. And I'm like looking at the screen and then I'm going like, oh man, I just walked up those stairs. And then I start seeing it's like a shoe and stuff. And I start seeing articles of clothing. I'm going like in my brain, I'm going, what is that? And then the double doors to the master bedroom open in the place that we're at. And it becomes very apparent very quick what kind of film this is. That was like the first professional voiceover thing I ever did. And then I just started like looking up on Craigslist and I started doing different things. And I got a stable list of clients and I just kind of kept going.
Eventually, Bentley moved back to his hometown in Oregon to be closer to his brother and grandmother, both who were dealing with some fairly serious health issues. Bentley created an online business providing voice acting and narration for a variety of projects. And along with his voice acting business, he utilized his live acting skills for the comedy theater at Enchanted Forest Theme Park in Salem, Oregon.
Acting is great out of Enchanted Forest, helping assistant direct in a lot of aspects, working with people. So former guest of the show, Susan, can go off and run a theme park. So she'll be like, here are the things I want. I'll come back up in a couple hours, execute these things. Because I do have the most shows on stage out there. I will surpass 3,000 probably first week of August. We did some math. So I'm sort of an anomaly. This is my 16th season out there, off and on, over the last 25 years. I started there in 2000.
As Bentley unpacks his thoughts about the creative process, you will no doubt be entertained by his energetic delivery and be inspired to continue your own journey down the wild and untamed path of creativity. Let's dive in.
How do I define creativity? Simply put, to me, it's a magic trick. It's something from nothing. That's what I think all creative types share, is that whether it's a songwriter or a composer or whatever, like Alan Silvestri, one of my favorite composers of all time. Most notably, Back to the Future, my favorite movie of all time. One morning he sat down, and I played this on your piano. One morning he sat down and went, dun 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 dun. No. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, write that down. Something from nothing. The magic trick of life. My creative process. It's the same for anything I do, whether I grab a guitar, a bass, my piano, my grandmother's harmonica, drawing, writing a script, doing voices. It all starts with, I don't wanna do this. This is dumb. Why would I? Stupid. Got all these blank pages I gotta fill words in, or it's like, oh, I don't have a guitar lick here, or this thing, or whatever. And then procrastination. And then when's the deadline? Tomorrow morning? Just everywhere. It's a lot of procrastination. No, it's like, it's usually like an initial burst of, so like when you asked me to do this and you sent over Susan's and you sent me the questions, I watched hers 3 times and I would go along with the questions. I've done this interview like 3 or 4 times in my house. That's the theater thing. Or it's like, with D&D or theater character, anything, it's a lot of research, depending on if I haven't done something before or if it's new to me. And it's like, like when I first started writing orchestral music, I had to do research on like, I can't just I would like look up like what instruments, kind of like where they sat on the piano. So it's like, I know if I'm writing for this, or this, like I'm over here, or I'm here, or So, I did all that research and then I started writing like more orchestral music. And then, or it's like when I was going to DM for a D&D podcast, we had never played D&D before. I had never played it, but I always found it interesting because a lot of theater people I knew played. And I'm like, nerds in your D&D. And they're like, imagine Lord of the Rings, but you get to play it and make it up. My buddy described it to me as, it's doing voices and improv. And I go, oh, great. That's amazing. Okay. And then he's like, here's a podcast. This is a podcast called Sneak Attack. And I would listen to it religiously. I still listen to it, even though it's been over for 6-7 years or whatever. I'll just start at episode 1. It's got like 190 something episodes or something like that. So it's like, and I love the storyline. And I was like, oh, that. So it all, and then it's like, I wanted to DM because I was going through a divorce at the time and I needed something creatively to do. So I started watching YouTube videos, like how to create scenarios for D&D and all this, and I would take notes, and then it's like, okay, I'm like, oh, it's writing. It's what you do anyway for like short films, or I also tap dance. And so it's like doing choreography for a class. It all goes back to like me sitting there going like, ugh, there's nothing. Oh, well, that's something. Oh, well, actually, that's kind of cool. Like, what if I had to spin to it, or whatever, or it's like I'll sit there with the guitar and I'm like, and I just, it's like I'm always annoyed. I'm like, clunk clunk, la 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 la, stupid song. Oh well, got some hot licks right there. That's kind of neat. Oh. And then it's like I go over to my drum set because I've got a music room, electronic drum set. I've got my computer plugged in, and then I go like, I gotta create like a quick loop, and then I'll just sit there and jam. And I start doing these things called like 20-minute songs. I have 20 minutes to sit down and create like a intro, verse, chorus, maybe a bridge, but they can only be about 60, 75 seconds. So it's like I sit down and I get one pal, sit down at the drums usually first, and I've got a microphone, and I'll sit there and kind of like hum something and like come up with a drum beat, whatever. Then I grab a bass, I grab a guitar, I grab a keyboard, something, and I just get 1 or 2 passes. And then I just kind of do that multiple times a week. And then at the end of the month, I go back and listen to a whole bunch of stuff, and I go, and a lot of the times there's a lot of themes. And I go, oh, I can take this, and then I've got like a structure for a song. Or like, I'm writing this superhero. Hold on. Let's get the plug-in.
There it is.
My craziness brought to you by Enchanted Forest. I'm writing this superhero audio series. It's called Superhero. This notebook was brand new in October. October 18th, 2024. And I wrote to myself, enjoy writing this, have fun, don't be dumb, just write it. I said, just effing write it, but and then it's like I broke down the episodes. I broke down all of this stuff. And so then it's like I was breaking down episodes, but then I was like, yeah, but I don't want to write a whole, I want this scene, this scene, this. So I just started writing all these scenes that I liked. And then I started bringing it all together. And I go, okay, this can be. And then like once I filled up the notebook, I started going like, okay, this is this episode, this is going through, and like, and now I'm digitizing it all on my computer. I wrote during, when we were in lockdown, I wrote like I call it time travel, but it's really more Groundhog's Day. It's a repeat day thing, but still kind of time travel. I call it a time travel Hallmark Christmas movie with this guy that goes back to his hometown, falls in love, but he has to Groundhog's Day his way through like, and learning the lesson for each, until he gets to full Christmas spirit. And then he can finally have Christmas Day. And, but some of my favorite scenes to write, even within the superhero thing or that, it was always like the human interaction scenes, like the falling in love stuff or like the whatever. And then another great method, Bob Zemeckis, Bob Gale, who wrote Back to the Future, the 3x5 card method. You stick it on a wall, act 1, act 2, act 3. And then you just like, as they explain it, like, well, Marty's going to play Johnny Be Good. So we need to establish that he plays guitar so then he can invent rock and roll, whatever. And so you can see the puzzle pieces, and that's really all it is. It's me starting there looking at something that's blank, a blank canvas, and I was like, this all sucks, everything sucks, I don't like it. I haven't even written anything yet, and I already hate it. And then you just make yourself do it. It's like exercising. I don't like exercising, but I guess it's good for you. But I go, do 20 minutes. If I'm practicing tap dance, I go, do 20 minutes. Practicing the drums, whatever it is. Go on a 20-minute walk. Because it's gonna end up being 45 to 60 minutes. It's like, just sit down and like, once you get over it, and the key thing, just do it. That's another reason, like, I handwrite everything, because some of it repeats, some of the themes repeat, some of the, like with the computer, I see it and I can see that I type too fast, and you can tell that, my pinky doesn't respond because I broke my finger on stage in Enchanted Forest last year and like set it during the middle of a show, and then it didn't heal correctly. So this is a little sluggish. Cut my finger with a knife, like chefing it up, and like this. So this finger's, so these two things, typing, it's a real just. And so it's like I handwrite everything because I can only go as fast as my hand and my brain will allow me. And it's like a good rhythm. And you find the rhythm, and then at the end of the day, it's like, I like physical things because I'm of a certain age before everything was digital. So that's why because then I've got a notebook. All my D&D adventures, I've got these huge notebooks that are filled in and that sort of stuff. Music and then I've also got like a whiteboard, and I have my to-do stuff for the list because of my ADHD. And then it's like you check it off and you go, and at the end of the day you see your stuff checked off and you go, and I always tell myself, my therapist says, you need to congratulate yourself a little bit. And so you go, look at all those things that I did. That's great. You did a good job today. And then you erase it, you write the stuff for the next day, and you're like, and we start the uphill battle again. We push the boulder back up. I will say my favorite part of the process is the whole thing, but I like looking at the whole thing from when it's done. Because then it's like, oh man, remember it, this stunk and this stunk and this, and then this was kind of fun and this thing, and then at the end of the day, you have like all the memories from it or whatever. The whole process is fun once you get to the end and be like, see all those trials and tribulations? Hilarious. What inspires me to work in specifically voiceover and acting? He's gonna love this. It's my dad. Because my father, he was like a newscaster, he was on TV, he was on radio my whole life. So like I've always seen television studios, I've seen radio stations, there's pictures of me in them. I remembered helping my dad once. He was working at KYKN when it was a local radio station, Kickin' FM, when it was a country station in the mid 80s. And I went in with him and he had like the carts and he had his whole stack of cards for the night, and he showed me how to use the magnetic eraser. So he goes, I want you to erase these. I go, okay, great. So he showed me how, and I hit the button. I was like 4 or 5, and I did it, and I did it, and like he was on the radio, and I was like, well, he's got this other stack of cards, and I erased his entire night's lineup because. And he called my mom. I was out of there real quick. I was not at work with dad anymore. He was scrambling in between every commercial break that he could. Like, I'm sure I ruined that dude's night. Other artists that inspire me and mentor me. Well, Susan, she mentors, in the last couple of years, because, she's had knee replacements and stuff, and I am the last person there that she physically, when I first started there, she's only 3 years older than me now at 43. She was like 46 when I first met her, graduating high school at 18. She was still hitting the walls. She was still falling down. She was doing going over her shoulders. She was still falling off the back of the door or whatever. And she physically taught me how to do those things. And now what I find interesting is when she'll give me parameters for acting stuff, I have a general enough, doing voice directing or doing even short film directing and that kind of stuff. I have a general enough idea, but there's a certain way I'm I can't get them to, whatever it is. I can't get them to da-da-da. And she'll go, okay, guys, can you run this? Do this thing for me? And then she'll go, okay, so, and then she'll just break it down, and then they'll do it. And I look over at her, and she's kind of I'm you did it. And I've told her multiple times already this year where I'm it's really inspiring to watch you work, my tap teacher obviously was very, very inspiring because she knew a lot of those old guys, and she knew their steps. So when I would go to her house, it was never a formal lesson. She goes, who do you want to learn today? I go, I was checking out this dude, and she goes, yeah, I know some of his stuff. And so she would show me stuff. So there's a lot of history there. I'm a guy that still collects physical media, Blu-rays, whatever, for the behind the scenes featurettes, the making ofs, the documentaries, those sorts of things mentor me in a way. Just recently, as of spring of 2025, Alan Silvestri, the composer for Back to the Future, he went to a Coldplay concert, and he was backstage with Chris Martin, the piano player, and he sat down and he goes, so that opening little Back to the Future thing, that whole thing, he goes, oh, it's just this. And he kind of played it real quick, and Chris Martin was like, so he did. He goes, yeah, and then the whole thing is just written, and that brought me a lot of inspiration. It's through Instagram mentorship, because the second I saw that, I went, oh, and so then I went to my piano and sat down and figured out the Back to the Future theme for the next 90 minutes, and I was just or it's YouTube, Instagram, all that sort of stuff is great because I love cooking as well. So there's so many people that have cooking shows on YouTube that I think are fantastic, but then there's also Gordon Ramsay or Bobby Flay or whomever that have shows on Hulu and HBO Max and whatever. But Matty Matheson is one of my favorites, and he's an executive producer on The Bear. He's in the TV show The Bear. He's this big old Canadian dude that's loud, curses a lot, and just shouts, and he's exactly my personality. He's exactly my speed, and I'm so watching him do stuff and watching him yeah, that's what's great that's the greatest part about the internet, is that you can have this sort of mentorship through that. And then with voiceover, there's this wonderful man named Bill DeWeese who took me under his wing a little bit. I went to a seminar in Chicago back in 2016, and there was a weekend seminar in a hotel, whatever, conference room, and afterwards he'd known me from online and he goes, hey, you want to come out to the house? We're going to be barbecuing and doing da-da-da. And he goes, I've seen your progress, and I get your updates. Sorry, I can't always respond. And the guy makes 6 figures from his home doing voices. The dry spell, the elusive hitting the wall. Dun dun dun. That's usually when I switch to something else. So if I'm really zoned in on a project, there was a couple times with the superhero thing, I look over here because that's where the notebook is. There was a couple times with the superhero thing where it's I didn't have, I would sit, I go to a local tiny little dive bar, and all the bartenders know me, and they know just like I sit at the back table, I have a couple of beers, and I just sit and write superheroes. And I have my headphones on, and no one really bugs me. And there'd be sometimes where I would just be like, especially during hockey season, I'd just be like watching a hockey game. They always turn the hockey game on for me. So I'd just be sitting there and like just twirling my pencil and my finger. And I'm just like, they're like, how many pages tonight? And I go, 0. And I go, you know what? I want to write for this person or this scene, or I know that I have to incorporate this scene into this thing. Let's try from another angle. So I'd go home and I'd sit down at the piano, or I'd sit at a guitar, and I go, I'm going to write the superheroes theme. So at least that I'm still moving forward with that thing, that person, that character, whatever. So like, so I created our Superman, Captain Handsome is his name, our Superman. I created his theme one, and I was like, okay, cool. And then once I had that in my head, I immediately like grabbed my notebook and I started writing stuff, because then I was like humming that in my brain. So like, while I think dry spells, walls, however you want to put it, can exist and do exist, I think it's about pivoting. And instead of sitting there going like, well, I got nothing, just start writing something. You don't have to use it, but start writing something. Maybe it has nothing to do with the story you're working on, or just all of a sudden, like, say you're supposed to be writing some crazy epic orchestral score. You can't do anything. I don't know, write a reggae song or something. Just get something going, because maybe you'll come up with a melody and then you go, oh, but what if I did this? And then it's like, and it all comes from, and you're like, oh, stop the presses. Then all of a sudden it's like a map, like on a video game. The blackness goes away. You see the new part of the map. You're like, oh, this was over here the whole time? That's bonkos. Okay, great. Like I've got and then it's like, and now this makes it because this is over here, and then I can tie that in with this thing over here, and now it comes together and Yahtzee. Do I have clients that tell me, see you later? Yes. Yes. There's certain times, like there's some audiobooks that I've auditioned for that are like RPG type, Lord of the Rings type books, stuff that I'm very into. And there's like a ton of characters, and they've got drawings of like these great, and like I embody these voices, I do this stuff, and like I'll even sometimes put music, or like I'll send them 2 versions. One has like music and sound effects underneath it, and then one of them is just like the voice stuff. And I'll be like, oh man, there ain't no way that they're not hiring me for that. There was something back in December of 24, and it was this specific thing that I'm talking about. There was this series of books, and it was like, if I got it, it was going to be like, because it's a series, because of the length, because it was going to be a nice chunk of change. Like buy a decent car, brand new chunk of change. And I all these voices, and the characters look great, and I like embodied all the you're this guy, and then they'll say, you've got a wonderful small little creature over here, and like all this, and I was just like going nuts. It was great. I put music and sound effects and all this stuff, and again, I send them a version without it. I was like, but also if you want to go down that road, because it is this sort of thing, I produced, like I said, a D&D podcast where we had music and sound effects. So I had all of these swords and spells and, different, areas and all this sort of stuff. I was like, ain't no way. I sent that thing off so confident at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And by the time I woke up at 7:30 in the morning, I had a rejection email hot in my inbox. They're like, thanks, but no, this isn't the direction we're looking for. I'm like, what, good? You jerks? What keeps me going? My mortgage. And Sally Mae, my student loans. That lady wants her money. She'll come after you. Yes, definitely monetarily. Yes, as far as the voiceover stuff and seeking out music. Like I also worked with somebody like making music for reality television shows, and I still get quarterly BMI residual checks, and it's like Discovery Channel used this, and this is like, it's like here's a free $500 from something you did 10 years ago. That's like neat. But it's like what keeps me going is something that I said earlier, depending on if you use it, is my brain will explode. It's like how cartoons look, a Looney Tune looks, where they go, pardon the fake bald spot. It's all for the theater kids. I don't know any other way to be. So it's like, if I get an idea for a puppet or something like that, or this sort of thing, or like a voice thing, or like I had this idea for a kid's show, Timmy Thomas Kid Gumshoe. I'm a big fan of Calvin and Hobbes, and so it was this boy detective, kind of like Tracer Bullet in the Calvin and Hobbes series. This boy detective and his wiener dog, and they solve mysteries, and who solved I think it's like the Great Pee-Pee Caper, who left that wet spot on the rug. And then it was always the tags at the end. I started with making my friends laugh, like, I think the one in the cartoon is he makes Encyclopedia Brown look like a dumpster diving hobo. And then I would just be sitting around saying like other, he makes the Bobbsey twins look like da-da-da. He makes the Hardy Boys look like a couple of bozos who don't know their bobo from their elbow.
Scotch, I want you to taste that pee. Is it human pee or puppy pee?
I don't know about that, Timmy. I get my nose swatted for eating out the cat box.
Will Timmy solve the mystery before Mom gets home? It's go time, Scotch. We'll do it together.
And then it always finished with Thursday nights at 8:30. Creative goals for 2025. The superhero thing for sure. I would love to have all 8 episodes of, look, don't tell my boss, but sometimes backstage in Enchanted Forest, I transcribe my stuff on the clock. I would love by like Christmas time for it to come out. All 8 episodes fully produced with music. So that is like, that's the best goal that I could have, because October 18th is the 1-year anniversary since I really started trying to focus in on it. Creating the music, the sound effects, getting everything together, getting the voice cast together. I already know pretty much everybody. When I let people, some of the actors and actresses at Enchanted Forest read the superhero stuff, I trust their opinion because a lot of them have known me for a couple of years now. We've got, several returnees. So some of the females, I'll be like, that are my buddies, I go, what do you think of this? Like, it's a guy, it's like the romantic guy-girl scene. I have 4 of them throughout the series where it's like, they meet this and, it escalates. But I wrote them in a row over the course of like a week. I wrote all 4 scenes in a row. And then I went, what do you think? And, cause I wanted their opinion. I was like, does it sound too much like a guy wrote this? And they're like, they were like, I did not know you were this sensitive. I'm like, oh, I'm a big teddy bear. Like, I growl a lot, but like, I was like, no, all I want to do is find love. But yeah, like, they're like, this is so incredibly sweet. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. They're like, and it's funny. To get that out for sure, I'm working on a lot of like pop music. Like, I would say like my songwriting style is Tom Petty's Greatest Hits meets the Vans Warped Tour. So it's like, it's pop, but it's like there's this like pop punk meets like sort of like a southerny kind of, swing or whatever. And so I've been revisiting some older songs and then also writing new licks for that. So that's like probably a later 2025 into 26 type of thing. And then, but superheroes has been creating the music, creating the world, creating the soundscape, creating the ultimate theme of what the show will be, and then like orchestrating it all on the computer. That's also the coolest thing. I remember in the early 2000s when like we were paying this dude in Portland to record. I was in my early 20s and paying that. I go, wouldn't it be great if like one day the computers were so good we could just like have like a studio in our house? And now I have that, and it's pretty neat. What are threats to creativity? Complacency? I think any good creative person, whether it be, I mean, you could argue that, like, say, someone who goes to the gym a lot, like a bodybuilder or whatever, like, they always want to better themselves physically, whatever it is. But it is, as far as the stuff that I do, acting, dancing, singing, writing music, being just okay with the fact that, like, yeah, I'm good at this, rather than me sitting there going, like, I don't know how to play this way on the piano, so I'm going to learn The Mess Around by Ray Charles, which is my favorite Ray Charles song. And it's just this, and it's a bonko song, but I don't know how to play that way. But I love that song, and I can play the piano, so why not learn it? I want to learn, the song's called Colder Weather by the Zac Brown Band. Wonderful piano piece. It's amazing and incredible. The Back to the Future thing. I wanted to learn the Back to the Future theme, so I found like an easy version on YouTube where it's kind of like Rock Band but with piano. I found the easy version, and so I got it like where the hand should go, and then I've got a medium and hard. I am on medium right now, so I'm working that out and slowly going through it. With dance, it's like, especially specifically tap, it's like I'll watch different people that dance, especially the older folks, that like they all had a certain style. They all had their own way of dancing. So it's like, where now it's a little bit more homogenized, you know. I think that kind of goes with everything, because there's so much of everything all around us. We can look and see everything all the time. Thinking that going onto YouTube and watching that sort of stuff, instead of it being like a quick inspirational, like, how do they do that? Okay, great. Thinking that doing like a 4 to 6 to 8 hour run of just like, well, I did research today. And it's like, no, you procrastinated. I've done it. I've done it. I did it like 2 days ago. All right. I'm calling myself out. The AI situation, the technology dance. As of right now, I think it can be a very creative tool. But like people that it's like, where it's just like, oh, I just ask Chat GPT to da-da-da-da, and then they just cut. It's like, yeah, to me, and maybe it's just because of when I grew up, but it's like, to me, that's cheating. Like, don't you want to actually learn it? Or is it just about getting a good grade? Because if you get a good grade, and then like you do, and then like you have a diploma or you have a whatever, if you go to college and you do it all, and you basically fudged your way through it, you're going to get out there and realize that, like, well, I don't actually know how to do any of this stuff. So again, it's like, could it get so good? Yeah. Cause yeah, with AI and the voice stuff, and like, I remember hearing it a lot. I remember hearing some of the AI stuff and being like, it's terrible. But now I hear some of it and I'm like, it's pretty good. Hate to admit it, pretty good. So, I mean, I'm looking at something, I'm doing some light research here and there right now. I got to sit down with somebody who's more knowledgeable than me. But basically it's like, I want to create my own Bentley bot, and you can hire that guy. And it's like, I've copyrighted my voice, my tone, my whatever that is, my essence, trademarked it, copyright, whatever I need to do. So then it's like, you can hire me, great, or go to my website and da-da-da, and like you can hire Bentley Bot, and he'll do it for you. And still my voice, but you want it faster, you want it, whatever, there you go. You want the Apple, you want the iTunes remastered Beatles, or do you want the vinyl? You want the vinyl? Hit me up. Maybe my voice will sound really cool because I was out in Enchanted Forest yelling and screaming all day. Words of inspiration for the kids. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's my job. You stay off the west side. No, actually, I like this question, and I want to pay this answer forward. It's going to be the shortest answer that you've gotten from me. There's this wonderful producer. His name is Steve Kravac, and growing up, he produced this band I love called MXPX. And he did Life in General, Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo, and he did a lot of other bands that I really loved, Less Than Jake, Slick Shoes. And he was up in Portland. This is about 2010, 2011, right when I was really first starting my, work from home voiceover thing. And I saw on Twitter that he was going to be up in Portland producing like this surf rock record for this lady up there. And I hit him up and I told him, I'm a big fan, love this record, these are my, and shaped my childhood. And it really did, because I gave him a whole laundry list. It wasn't just the MXPX records that went gold, I was like, it's all these other bands, all this other stuff. And he's like, could I take you out for a drink and just chat with you a little bit? He goes, yeah, I'm pretty busy, He canceled on me twice. And I go, look, man, I know you're busy. I was like, it would just mean the world to me, please. Like an hour of your time. I will drive an hour out of my way to just have an hour of your time. He goes, yeah, all right. This, blah, blah, blah. We meet in front of his hotel. We go around the corner to this bar. He has, I have a couple of beers, and he has like one martini. And we're just sitting there talking about records, and I am asking him about all this stuff. And like, I go, hey, when you did this, or like, how'd you do this? And he was telling me stuff. And then we walk back to the hotel, and we're in front of the hotel. He goes, well, my friend, this is where I leave you. And I go, so I'm starting this voiceovers thing and like, I'm doing music, I'm creating music for people and all that sort of stuff. Words of inspiration to me. And it was the greatest stuff. It was, he looked me, stuck out his hand and shook my hand, and as he was shaking, he goes, Bentley, always invest in yourself, because no one's going to believe in you as much as you. He goes, see you later. Turned around, walked off. The only caveat that I give that is know if you suck. Because if you suck, you can keep investing in yourself, but if you're William Hung, you're never winning American Idol. There's a reference for you, kids. But if you're tone deaf, you're probably not going to be a professional singer. But if you're good at what you do and you believe in, invest in yourself. And anytime that I've had some extra money, I've upgraded a microphone. I've gotten cameras or lights or, more sound foam or whatever it was. Took a class, took a seminar, flew to Chicago, did that, So, when I came back from Chicago, I started implementing the things, and then I watched my business grow by thousands of dollars a month. So, always invest in yourself, because no one's going to believe in you like you. Unless you got a sweet grandma that wants to bake you cookies.